Hi there, welcome to ILM Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Capricorn energy, and we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives because people are on different levels of like emotional maturity and learning lessons in life, and they're going to harness this energy differently based on, the lessons they've learned in life. Some people can present themselves out on the table. We have the King of Pentacles, and I view that as Capricorn energy. It can be male or female. The kings can represent how people present themselves in the world, and it's considered masculine energy because people really don't know how we think and feel. But we can present ourselves as a stable, just, fair, loving person. I'm not prideful. I'm not egotistical. I'm not materialistic. I'm not self-centered, but they are. And the feminine figures can talk more about how they really think and feel. And so, people could be attractive. People could have a good job. They could look like a King of Pentacles in the world, male or female, but they really lack substance, right? So we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives of how different people might be harnessing this energy. Some people are kind of putting on a show, trying to present themselves as something that they're not, and other people are who they say they are, Oh my goodness. All right. I'm laughing because we had this clump of cards come out not showing itself. And, we can meet these different people and we can think other people view life the way we view life. And so we can be attracted to people. We can get into relationships or friendships or work with people. And it can take time to get to know the truth of who people are, because some people don't know that high vibe people aren't as easily manipulated. They're not as naive and gullible. They do feel stable and grounded, and they are more emotionally mature than some people realize. And then other people get in relationships and they don't realize, oh, you are kind of on the shadowy spectrum. So the judgment card talks about, I think, that the people who are being truthful and honest and authentic and act with character and integrity, judgment will go in their favor because they're not trying to mislead people. And when we're kind of operating more out of our more immature egoic nature, we think we're the boss and we can kind of control things, and there will be consequences to pay for that. And there's going to be people who are going to call judgment on us. You can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time, right? So what's going on in Capricorn energy? We have the Three of Swords, the Two of Wands, the King of Pentacles, and the King of Swords not showing itself. And the reason that came out is because of the Eight of Swords. The 8, the 9, and the 10 of Swords is Gemini energy, which is about our dualistic nature and what our truth is and what really kind of drives and motivates us, right? And there's always going to be people in the world that have a lot of fear about love or have issues that keep them up in their head. Their past pain and heartbreak. They could have a dream of wanting to have good jobs, friendships, and relationships with people, but they're not sure if those dreams will come into reality. And then they could take action more out of fear, insecurity, or pride and ego, and maybe thinking they can control the situation, maybe that they can change other people. And then there's people in the world who don't want to do love and they like to live more from their mind than their heart, And some people don't like to be just and fair. And some people aren't speaking their truth, have a lot of fear of speaking their truth, of being more just and fair. What if I am more truthful or authentic and loving? And what if those people aren't being truthful and honest, right? We could go back and forth all day. And that's why the high vibe people have learned to stay focused on truth and love. I'm going to maintain balance between my mind and my heart. Not going to get all up in my head, not going to get all in my emotions or my fiery nature or my worldly nature. I'm going to maintain balance within myself, staying focused on truth and love. I have a dream, and I'm going to take action to invest in my dream. I am going to present myself authentically as who I am in the world. I have learned lessons in life. I only know what I know. I'm not going to try to present myself as knowing more than I do know. But I've been hurt. I've been betrayed. I've had fears and insecurities. I have worked through them. I'm going to treat high vibe Capricorn is shadowy Capricorns represented by the devil. I am not going to take action more out of fear and insecurity and pride and ego. I'm going to treat other people the way I like to be treated. And then it's up to those people to decide what their truth is. And there might be some people that you already know do live more from their mind than their heart. The King of Swords, I view it as Libra energy. Just that what they think is just and fair is different than what you think is just and fair. And they might be people who you feel aren't who they present themselves as being. They're not being truthful. And so some of those people you've already cut out of your life is what this can mean. And there could be some people that you're not communicating with anymore. The swords can talk about communication. It's like, I have spoken my truth in love to people in my life, and the people, there's going to be some people, this is Libra and Aries energy, there's going to be some people that, again, maybe don't want to learn lessons in life, don't want to grow up and mature themselves, like to live more from their mind than their heart, are more caught up in past pain and heartbreak, are more about the world, in another relationship, whatever it is. I'm not going to stay up in my head about it. I'm going to speak my truth and love to people, be authentic, treat people in a just and fair manner, and then everybody can decide what they want to do. In the meantime, I'm moving forward. We have the King of Wands, the Nine of Pentacles, and the Four of Pentacles, and the reason that came out is because of the Five of Wands. There can be people that we can be attracted to, is what the wand energy can talk about. And there might be other people in our life that we're investing time, energy, and effort to and communicating with, because those people do seem to be more on the same page as us. And then if we realize that something we were invested in, the King of Pentacles can mean a friendship, a job, a relationship, a marriage, someone we did want to marry, someone we did marry. But if we come to realize this isn't my truth, or they're not being truthful and honest, or, how we harness our Gemini energy is different. My truth is different than their truth. And in our dualistic nature of our Gemini nature, our truth is either that we want to build a foundation on truth and love and justice and fairness and healing and growing and maturing, or we're kind of more about ourself and the world and indulgence or ego or image or fear or insecurity. And, we all like hanging out with people who are kind of on the same page as we are. So we could have gotten out of one situation, and then we're single. And before we move forward, there might be people in our life that, hey, I've changed. Have you changed? And I got out of this job or this friendship and I'm moving forward, going to have a new beginning. Do you want to come with? Some of those people will hold back from us in the Four of Pentacles. It could be because they're in their own jobs, friendships, or relationships. They have inner conflict of being more independent of whatever they're involved in or how they live their life. And they might want to hold on to and are happy living their life the way they live it. So high vibe people deal with the truth. It does cause us some inner conflict, but hey, the truth sets you free. I'm not going to keep staying up in a mental prison. I'm not going to keep staying in my ego about it. The Five of Wands is Leo energy, which can be being in our ego. I know my worth and value. I know what I bring to the table. I know that I've treated people in a just and fair and authentic and loving way. If that's not, they could be in a relationship with someone else who's like that. Well, why would they get out of that relationship to be in a relationship with me, right? And then we know there are some people that shadowy king energy, again, can be people who present themselves as people who are more motivated and inspired by love and all those things, so people will get in a relationship with them, but they operate more from their ego, and they could be more about themselves, or they could be more controlling. And it can represent that their ego kind of runs their life a little bit more than their more hopeful, believing, loving nature. And in order for them to move forward with people who are more hopeful and believing and self disciplined and loving and nurturing, it would require them to change and become independent of this old way of living life, which could be, well, I've been hurt before and I'm in a mental prison about love, so I've decided either I don't want to be in a more formal commitment or marriage, and I just kind of want to indulge myself in relationships. And it's like, okay, well, that's not the type of relationship I want to be in. And, some people, we don't know them well enough to know, we could have thought they were more on the same page and we find out they're not. Other people could have other people in their life. Like if you're just a friend and they're in a marriage, well, maybe the people that they're married to don't like them hanging out with you so much because you're single. And they're afraid that if their person that they're married to hangs out with someone single, they'll want to be single. If you're more independent and you could have gotten out of a relationship or a marriage and someone is married, well, their partner might have fear of them hanging out with you because they might start to think that they should be in a more just or fair relationship and don't like them being more independent. And, everybody has their issues to deal with in their own life, and everybody has to decide who is like the primary people in my life that I need to make more of a priority in my life. And maybe they know some people that are heartbroken because some dream they were working on, someone they know in their life, that didn't work out. And so now those people are who they're focused on to help them get out of their fear and insecurity. It's all these different things. High vibe people wish people truth and love. They see that people have their own priorities in life, good, bad, or not. And you just got to deal with the truth of it. That people are where they're at, and you're not always a priority in other people's lives, and that's okay. The whole thing is, there's some people in our life that we wish were working with us more cooperatively and moving forward with us, but for these different various reasons of some people we know why they don't, and we know they have some healing or growing and maturing to do. Other people we might know because of a relationship they're working on or a commitment they're in or people they're helping. They're not able to kind of move forward with us at this time. And we could kind of keep waiting and kind of being in our ego about it. But high vibe people get inspired to, from the 9 of Pentacles to the 4 of Pentacles, to work through the 5 of Pentacles. And the 5 of Pentacles is Taurus energy, which is, people have other commitments, priorities, relationships that they are a priority in their life or a focus in their life. Some of them are good or bad, whatever it is. Some of them are for good reasons. Some of them aren't for good reasons. But we're not going to keep feeling left out in the cold because of it. Our life moves on, and we take that inspired action to work through our own pain and heartbreak that we had a dream that we thought they were going to keep working with us, and maybe they're not, and we deal with our own inner conflict about it. And for the people in our life who we know are maybe more competitive, are in their shadowy Capricorn energy, are more motivated more by themselves or things of the world is what's more important than love, and having a balance of both. They're kind of tipped out of balance. We kind of work through the fact that we can be attracted to people who are like that, but it's kind of realizing that our dream can't come into reality with them because, again, kind of what drives them, motivates them is different than, you either want to be in a more just and fair and balanced relationship where we work to have the stability and security and enjoy some of the finer things in life, but we also want authentic, loving relationships. And, some people are willing to sacrifice more authentic, inspiring, loving relationships or living their more authentic life because they're really competitive in the world, and those things really drive and motivate them, and I need to have a certain status and image, and I want a certain amount of money, and I'm willing to sacrifice love to have those things. And they either indulge other people for those things, or if they have those things, and they could be someone who thinks people should indulge them. And we just kind of see the truth about some people and the people in our life who we know are more got some inner conflict to work through, and until they work through it, we're not interested in really being in a relationship with them. And they're maybe not interested in being in a relationship with us because we're not motivated and inspired to live life the way they want to live it, and they're not motivated and inspired to live life the way we want to live it. So we work through feeling left out in the cold and learn the lesson that we were meant to learn from it, that everybody is different, that we come in contact with all these different people to help us get more clear about our truth. And this whole experience could have really forced us to do this work within ourselves of, well, what is my truth? And yes, I want a job, or yes, I want a friendship, or yes, I want to be in a relationship. But am I willing to sacrifice, kind of make my life living more from my mind than my heart, and ignore my more creative, inspired, independent, high vibe energy is about being independent, knowing your worth and value, being in relationships with other people who are independent, who know their worth and value, respect that you have your own dreams and aspirations and unique talent, skills, and interests to feel like you're growing to your full potential, and you want to invest time, energy, and effort into it. And there's some people that are like, no, you should ignore that. No, you should make your life more about me, or more about these things of the world. You should be practical. You should be logical. You should live more from your mind than your heart, and ignore your truth. You won't get justice and fairness, because Libra is represented by the scales of justice. If you live your life like that, you might not get these things of the world that we want. You should be in a relationship with me. You'll get what seems just and fair by worldly standards. But it's like, but it does seem tipped in favor of being more about you or these things of the world. And it could be repeating a past pattern where we never face our fears to become more independent of things that manipulate us, that make us live our life like that to begin with. And it started to cause me some inner conflict to keep living my life like that, because my more creative, inspired, independent nature kind of wants to look to the future and put my work and effort into moving my life forward differently than repeating this old pattern. And some people are like, nope, I turn my back to that. I have inner conflict with that. I want to keep doing this. I don't want to step out of my comfort zone. I don't want to call judgment on my more worldly nature, or being more about myself, or my competitive nature, or my ego nature, or my self-defensive, self-protective nature. It's like, okay. And that's when people can part ways. And high vibe people are like, you know what? I have my truth and what from love that I want to be in these more insightful, balanced, loving, authentic, inspiring relationships. And some of the people I was in a relationship with have inner conflict about that. And I'm not willing to give up my dreams. The Two of Wands is about having a dream. So I'm going to put work and effort to bring my dream into reality. And my dream can only come into reality with other people who that's their truth. And I wished some of these people in my life that was their truth, but it's not. And I deal with the truth of that. And if I want my dream to come into reality, I have to get out of my ego and my pain and my heartbreak and whatever, and start focusing on working with people who are more on the same page as me. And when people decide to do that, we can decide to move away from a job, a friendship, or relationship, but then we kind of have this work to do within ourselves because we don't want to repeat that pattern again. What was it that made me get into it to begin with? Was I not listening to my intuition? Was I a more codependent energy? I can love people, but then do I get in relationship with people who before I really know if they're motivated by love, right? And you have to do this work within yourself to be ready to go have that new beginning. And I think that's what you're doing. And because of that, I think judgment will go in your favor. And you had to figure out how you could have harnessed these energies in a more shadowy way. Just realizing even that other people, because if you're a hopeful, believing, loving person, you could think everybody is motivated and inspired by love. But for some people, it's like, oh no, that is like the competition. I'm not doing that. That is the danger zone. No way, man. I get hurt doing that. Plus, I might have to hold myself accountable. I might have to put in work and effort. And I might be kind of lazy. I might like to have it more about me. I might not like to put in really work and effort. I might want to find someone who has inner conflict about loving and believing in themselves, who they put a lot of work and effort to make a relationship work, and I just kind of get to indulge myself in it. And we could have had a pattern of kind of growing up in relationships like that where people indulge other people and that we're these kind of more imbalanced relationships, and it's our comfort zone. We know how to work with people like that, and we could have found out we were repeating a pattern. And it's like, wait a minute. Why am I doing this? Why am I indulging people in their poor behavior? Could again be out of my own fears and insecurities, and I don't want to do that. And so I need to work through how I could harness these in a shadowy way. When I was in those energies to whatever degree in a shadowy energy, there was other people in the world to their own degree that were in that shadowy kind of energy, worldly, more view of life. And they were happy that I was in a relationship with them and staying in a relationship with them or staying in that job or friendship because they were in that same energy. And for them, they could be fine continuing to be in relationship dynamics like that. But other people could have worked through some of their issues, became independent of some of those issues. They weren't the same person they were when they could have gotten into that relationship, but the other people are. And then it's like when you changed and whatever it is, your fear, your insecurity, your past pain and heartbreak, your more worldly view of life used to more manipulate you. Well, then when you've worked through some of those things where you're not the same person you were before, then some of those people turn their back to you and they don't want to be in a friendship or relationship with you anymore because you're not in that energy that you were when you got in it. And they are. So they want to be in relationships with people who are still in that energy. They don't want to become independent of it. They don't want to be in a relationship with other people who are more independent, who aren't in their competitive energy, aren't in their ego energy, aren't in their fear, aren't in their pain and heartbreak, because they still are. And you have to do this inner work and hold yourself accountable to free yourself from things that manipulate you. And as you're doing that work within yourself now and moving forward, harnessing this energy in a more high vibrational way, there's other people that want to be in a relationship with you. But again, some of those people are kind of shadowy people, just want to be the next person to indulge themselves in a relationship with you. And some of them see that you really are who you say you are. You're balanced, you're staying focused, you believe in yourself, you believe in your dreams, you're not living more from your mind than your heart, you're not taking action on these things that seem practical or logical by worldly standards. You're inspired to stand up for yourself in a way on what you believe in. And other people are in that energy too, and they could be thinking that you would be someone they want to be in a relationship with. And as you're moving forward, communicating with different people, that this is how I'm moving forward, and other people are communicating with you that you meet out in the world and their ways of kind of communicating. Everybody's trying to maybe kind of figure out where everybody's at. And the shadowy people are hiding that they harness these in a shadowy way, and they're trying to figure out if you do too. If you're just presenting yourself as a much more stable, inspired, loving person than you really are, and if you are more shadowy and they're more shadowy, yeah, then they maybe want to get in a relationship with you. Other people who are high vibe, who've already been in relationships with more immature or bossy or hurtful or unkind or competitive or cold or materialistic people, don't want to be in relationships with people like that anymore. And they're trying to get to know you to find out if you really are who you say you are. And those of you who know, I want to be in relationships with people who are more inspired by truth and love and being independent, respecting each other, treating each other the way you like to be treated. And as I get to know people, I'm going to listen to my intuition about if people are hiding the truth or if they are who they say they are. And they've detached from their more shadowy nature, and they really hold themselves accountable, and they really harness these energies in a more high vibe way. So let's go see what those are. The Seven of Cups, the Magician, the Queen of Pentacles, the Hierophant, and the Eight of Cups. So, in a more shadowy energy, we all grow up in the world, and the Queen of Pentacles is Taurus energy, so is the Hierophant. About our philosophy of life. We all grow up in the world, and we're all kind of manipulated by the world. We're all caught up in the illusion of the world and all these things we want to go invest in and make our life about, and we're sure it'll make us happy. And then we kind of go invest in those things, and we're trying to move it forward to, like, the Eight of Cups is headed to the Nine of Cups to kind of bring a dream into reality, where we put work and effort to look to the future and bring that dream into reality. But sometimes, again, we get in relationships with people who are like, well, no, I want to be in a relationship too, but I want to keep doing this. Let's make our life about these things of the world. We're in a relationship. Let's stay in the relationship. Let's keep moving forward more motivated and inspired by the world, and make our life more about being emotionally fulfilled, that we're like creating this illusion in the world about how happy we are, but we're still not really dealing with the truth that it's supposed to be about love, and we are supposed to heal and grow and mature ourselves to our full potential. And other people are like, well, no, I don't want to do that, but I want to be in a relationship, and I want to be in this job, if it's a job, but I don't want to have to heal or grow and mature myself. And it's the same thing like at a job where people hire people for a job. They're kind of hoping those people will learn that job. And then while you are learning that job, over time, it's great that you have that knowledge, but then we'd maybe like you to take on additional responsibilities. And then we could hire someone else to kind of take your job. Because you have that foundation, we can build upon that foundation. And the same thing happens in relationships. We learn these things. Let's build upon this foundation and move forward. And some people are like, well, no, I want to keep staying in this job. I don't want to learn anything new. Can't we just keep doing things the way we've been doing it? But then nothing changes. We're not ever giving birth to anything new. We're not becoming independent of an old way, kind of learning lessons about it. And probably during the course of that time period, we probably learned what were not good building blocks, like we should let those things go, and what were the good building blocks and take those with us. But some people are like, but I don't want to look at any of those things. I want to take them all with us, and I want to keep doing things the way we've always done it. And that's when people realize that some people are more not willing to work through the things that kind of manipulate them, that make them want to keep repeating this old pattern. And other people do work through those things, and they're ready to detach from some ways of living life or viewing life and become more independent. Again, the Eight of Cups goes to the Nine of Cups, and like the Nine of Pentacles, it's about being more independent. I've learned what I needed to learn here. I'm going to take what I learned, and I'm going to take the good building blocks, and I'm going to build upon that. And other people are like, but I don't want to add anything to that. I want to keep doing that over and over and over. Well, that becomes stagnant. Nothing new is happening. And initially, growing up in life, we could have thought, that's all I want too. And if I have these certain things in my life, I'll be happy. And we didn't realize that, wow, I didn't know I would want more. But the whole thing is, like, as you're living your life, you learn new things. You don't even know some of the things that inspire you, that motivate you. Maybe, it could happen, some of those things don't happen for sure. You could get in a career field and then it's like, ew, I really don't find this career field that emotionally fulfilling. And I really thought I would. But now I'm kind of thinking, what I do know from this career field or the jobs that I've had, I want to kind of apply it in something that I find more aligned with my truth. And I thought that was my truth. And I could have thought getting in a relationship, oh my gosh, that is the dream. Oh my gosh, having a certain status or image, that is the dream. I'll be happy. And we can go invest in all those things. But the whole thing is, if the people we're in relationship with aren't kind of healing and growing and maturing with us, and if they're kind of being more bossy or controlling or competitive or stubborn or whatever, it's like, well, I don't know. I could love this job and I would have liked to have stayed here forever, just like I might have wanted to stay in a friendship or relationship forever. I thought we were all going to put in work and effort to hold ourselves accountable. And I thought we both were willing to become independent of some old ways of doing things as things changed. But some people really don't like change. And then it's like some people want to stay in a time warp. Well, no, this is the way my friends did it or my family did it, and we should live our life like they lived our life. It's like, but we're our own people and we create our own life. Well, no, I don't like that, because that means I can't follow this like template. That's like shadowy Taurus energy. I want to follow the template that someone else said I should do. And that's how I want to live my life. It's like, well, I don't want to follow someone else's template for how to live life. I want to live my own authentic life. And they're like, oh, that's scary because you're stepping out of my comfort zone. I don't like to step out of my comfort zone. If I step out of my comfort zone, I don't have that template to follow. And that's where people have to be inspired in their fire sign energy to be willing to face their fears and kind of love and believe in themselves and see what needs to go. And, they are kind of facing their fears to listen to love and intuition guide them about what they invest their time, energy, and effort into. And there's some people that's like, no, I don't want to do that. No. And then we just kind of find out we're on different pages. So as you're moving forward, you could have reached out to people. You're going to meet people. Other people could reach out to you. And the whole thing is to find out who's kind of more caught up in the illusion, who wants to be in a relationship just to be in a relationship, or hire someone to work at their job, but they're just creating an illusion. They really got some problems going on there, but they don't want you to know it. And the same thing, people in relationships. I got a lot of things going on. I got a lot of fears, and I got a lot of insecurities, and I got some past pain and heartbreak I don't work through, and I might be kind of immature or bossy or controlling, but I don't want you to know any of that. So I'm going to try to create this illusion that I am more independent, stable, blah, blah, blah. You should move forward with me in this relationship. Or I'm hoping you're going to indulge me in a relationship out of your own fear or insecurity. And we maintain balance within ourselves to not get tipped out of balance. We stay focused on truth and love, working together with people to get to know them, listening to our intuition, and the people in our life who we know, yeah, I don't think we're on the same page. I'm going to keep moving on. And the people in your life who you think are on the same page, it might just be like you trying to work through their inner conflict about, we have to make choices in my life. If I choose this job or to get in a relationship with this person, I can't take that job or get in a relationship with that person. If I'm in a job or relationship and someone's offered me a new opportunity, you know, people have to make decisions in their life, and some people are really afraid of people judging them if they really went and lived the life that they want to live, and because of that, they're not. And high vibe people are trying to make sure they don't get stuck in a situation like that again, so they're listening to their intuition because they've already been in it and had to make that decision. I'm not staying in this friendship, this job, or this relationship. This isn't just and fair. And the world can basically judge away. I adhere to a higher truth and justice, and other people adhere to a more man-made truth and justice, even though it's unjust and unfair. Well, what would people say? Blah, 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 blah. It's like they're going to say whatever, they're going to think whatever they think based on who they are. Let them judge away. Free yourself from people who aren't being just and fair and authentic. What's coming up for people who are holding themselves and other people accountable for their actions? And because you're holding some people accountable for their actions, that's why some of those people aren't taking action towards you and turning their back to you, because I don't want to be held accountable for my actions. You can go. I'll go find someone else to get in a relationship with until that person wants to hold me accountable for my actions. And then I'll let that person go and I'll go find someone else. And then they could have inner conflict because they know they didn't act with character and integrity, that they created an illusion, they were trying to manipulate people, might not want to see the truth that they're bossy or controlling, or think they should be indulged in a relationship. But, as more people keep not being willing to indulge them in that way, just like it makes me think of a job I had where there was a really kind of immature, bossy, petty supervisor. And of course, when you applied for the job, it was like, oh my gosh, everything's so wonderful. But I should have listened to my intuition, because I could tell there was this kind of competitive, conflicted energy going on with some of the other people. And it's like, wow, I don't know if I want to work someplace like that. Well, there is a lot of chaos going on there and other people leaving, But as long as the people who are in charge of that supervisor have inner conflict of becoming independent of that person keeps staying there, and they keep doing this, and other people leave, But, other people can become codependent on them, and so they're afraid of letting them go. But until they do, probably things are going to get worse before they get better. Can't keep hiding from the truth forever. And what's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Capricorn energy that they might not see coming up? High vibe people are investing in the people in their life who are independent, inspired, don't play these games, who put in work and effort to look to the future and learn lessons in life along with them. And they work together cooperatively, because that's what you do in encouraging, loving, supportive environments. And there could be other people that don't like it if you're in a family dynamic or a workplace, because then they have to kind of conduct themselves that way, and that's really not the truth of who they are. And then some of those people might want to become independent of it because they really want to be someplace where it's more about them or where they can be more bossy and controlling. For the high vibe people, oh wow, I have two little decks combined. The King of Swords of Libra energy, represented by the scales of justice and kind of like the Judgment card, kind of, and the Justice card. High vibe people are going to feel balanced within themselves because they are and have learned the truth that it does take work and effort to maintain balance within yourself. You know, you can give in to your fear and your insecurity and your pride and your ego and your lust and your greed and all that, or you can temper your egoic nature and maintain balance within yourself. And from truth and love, you make decisions based on truth and love for yourself and for others, but require that other people treat you in a just and fair way if you're treating them in a just and fair and authentic and loving way. And if they want to wear a false mask or they want to be bossy or they don't want to be held accountable, okay, well then you go do what you're going to do. And I think because of that, you're investing your time, energy, and effort into people who are more balanced and just and fair. And that's how you get your dreams to come into reality. Working with other people who have the same truth as you have. And for some people, that wasn't their truth. No, I'm more fired up about the world or me. And it's maybe not about being just and fair or truthful or honest or authentic and loving. Because that isn't what drives and motivates them. And as you do this work within yourself and move forward in that way, and other people see you in that energy and see that's the truth of who you are, yeah, they're going to get out of the illusions they've been in and want to be in a relationship with someone like you. You know, if you're not in those type of relationships already. You know, and it can be other people in your life if you're in a relationship that try to cause inner conflict in the relationship or whatever. And it's like, no, I'm going to keep taking action in truth and love. And I'm going to offer truth and love to the people in our life to work together with us in that way. And if they're not, I wish them peace. And I'm going to focus my time, energy, and effort on the people who are. And they can go try to cause conflict and fighting with someone else. What's coming up for the people who might harness a more worldly, shadowy Capricorn energy that they don't see coming? The Three of Pentacles. Why? Because of the Queen of Swords. So, you know, when people act in these kind of shadowy, immature, whatever ways of being, there are always going to be people in their life who could want to be in a relationship with them, are attracted to them, would like to move a relationship forward, and work together with them in the Three of Pentacles Capricorn energy cooperatively. Again, Aquarius energy, kind of like the Two of Wands. I have a dream. But eventually the high vibe people realize that the other people operate from a different foundation. Their truth is more of operating maybe from their more worldly Capricorn energy. And it's more about them or looking like a shining star in the world. The ego and the image and the money and the materialism and not maybe a little defensive to love. And eventually the other people in their life kind of see the truth of it and they're not willing to stay in a relationship with them. And then if they keep living their life like this and they're unwilling to change, unwilling to let go of maybe a shadowy Five of Pentacles, a shadowy way of viewing life, more caught up in the world, being more stubborn, being more prideful, lack mentality, enough is never enough, I need more, I need to drink more, eat more, have more money, have more power, have more attention. You know, other people are going to leave. And then the people who might stay in a relationship with them are other people who also, and they could be trying to find those type of people. You know, that's why they call judgment on more people who want them to grow up or mature themselves. I don't have to grow up and mature myself. I just need to find the right person who's on the same page as me. That's true. The only thing is, in a more shadowy relationship, people can be defensive to, it's more about the ego or the image or what they indulge in to make themselves feel better. And they can get in relationships with people who are very competitive in the world, maybe very focused on their job and their career. And then we have two people that aren't very focused really on the relationship, or they're more about themselves, or they're defensive because they've been hurt before and they've decided they don't want to do love. And then we could have people that, well, one person might not want to, is more about kind of them or the status or the image, but they wanted people, it's just kind of hard to find the right mix, right? And sometimes shadowy people, they are kind of immature and full of themselves, and they indulge their more immature nature, and they want other people to indulge them in their more immature nature, and they want people to love them, kind of like a parent would love a child, and maybe they were spoiled as a child. Well, those other people put up with it, or I've been in relationships with other people who kind of indulge me, and because they love me, because they didn't love and believe in themselves and kind of gave up on their dreams, and now they indulge me. Well, for one thing, if people have people who are just indulging them, really, is that anything to be proud of? When other people are in relationships because they love each other? But you could have people who stay in a relationship with you more out of their fear or their insecurity of being independent, believing in their own dreams, so they kind of indulge you in a relationship. Are you proud that people stay in a relationship with you because they're just more codependent? Or because you bully or manipulate them, or you use your looks, your charm, your social status, your assets to try to manipulate them to stay in a relationship with you? It's nothing to be proud of. And for some people, they just don't care. That is the most important thing. Is someone indulging me in my ego? That's what I want. Okay. Well, I have someone who's indulging me in my ego because they're willing to stay in it for the ego. But it maybe won't be love. And those people maybe won't leave the relationship, but they could end up being cold and defensive to them. There could be a lot of fighting and arguing, but nobody's willing to get out of it because nobody's willing to let go of any of these things. Do we want to stay in a relationship where everybody feels betrayed and everybody's fighting and everybody's bossy or controlling, but nobody's willing to give an inch? It's kind of like we're manifesting our life into reality, and some people are like, I'm not willing to stay in relationships that are like that. I am willing to leave with less than I could have had if I stayed in it. But if it's not just and fair and people aren't being truthful and honest and authentic, I'm not willing to do the illusion. And they're at peace within themselves. And they're not in this kind of type of relationship. And other people would maybe like to get out of it, but because they're not willing to give up those things, or they have fear of being single, they keep staying in it. And it's like, well, there are consequences to our actions, and if we're in relationships with people who, all those things can become like an addiction. I want more of your attention. I want more of it being about me. I want to manipulate and control you more. I don't want you going out at all, male or female. It has to be more about me, because they don't do this work within themselves to heal, and is constantly looking outside of themselves for people to give them these things to make them feel better, that they think is like the answer that's going to make them feel better. But it's the wrong thing that they're looking for. And until they see the truth of it, it could get worse and worse. I need more money. I need more power. I need more attention. I need more people attracted to me. And and they think that is building like their sense of how important they are or how valuable they are or something, but it's a false sense of empowerment because it comes from outside themselves. Or how I can cause people to be in their fear and their insecurity and inner conflict. I'm so powerful. And it's like a false sense because when other people work through it and leave, then their balloon deflates like shit. And that's what some people are really struggling with. Some people try to manipulate and control people to have them in a mental prison and break their heart and make them defensive and not believe in their dreams. And they were building their self-esteem off of how powerful they felt. And the other people looked at them and realized you're kind of this person who's got some things to work through, and I'm not going to stay in my ego about people who are unjust and unfair and unloving and bossy and controlling. That's the way you are, and I'm not going to take it personally. I know who I am, and I know how I acted and how I conducted myself, and I know how you acted and how you conducted yourself. And I can take my traits and characteristics and move on, and you can take what you have, and then they're mad because they couldn't manipulate and control you, and you held back from them, and you called judgment on them, and you're moving forward, and they couldn't keep like stealing or taking from you. And then they'll go try to steal and take from someone else their love and their dreams and their self-worth. And high vibe people weren't willing to let them do that. They could have done it for a long time, but it all was to make them do this work within themselves, to stand up for themselves and believe in themselves and love themselves. And just like some of you did that, some other people are going through it now. And then we move forward and we're looking for people who've kind of gone through some of the same experiences in a way and had to deal with those issues like we have, that are more just and fair and emotionally mature and truthful and honest and loving. And they are going to go work with maybe other people who still feel betrayed and heartbroken and up in their head, just like we could have been at one time. And they'll try the same thing with those people. Indulge themselves in it for as long as they can indulge themselves in it until those people hold them accountable and are no longer in the illusion. And if they don't hold themselves accountable, those people are going to leave. And then they'll be mad again that someone wasn't willing to indulge them and make them the center of their universe. Like they make themselves the center of their universe. Or some of these people are manipulated by other people in their life, that they kind of make the center of their universe. And instead of listening to their own intuition, they're codependent on those people, friends or original family members. Well, I can't become independent of them. I am single and I can't marry them or get in a relationship with them because they're just my friend or my sibling or parent. But I'll create the illusion I'm willing to work with other people. But if the people that I'm codependent on don't like the person I'm in a relationship with, and they tell me, if you keep moving forward with that person, I'll be mad, I'll be defensive to you. Oh, well, they don't want to become independent of those people. So they're just not very independent people in general. They have a lot of things that manipulate within them and outside of them, and just codependent on things that they make their life about other than being independent, standing in their truth, believing in themselves, believing in their dreams. Codependent on their fear, their insecurity, their defensive nature, other people. And high vibe people call judgment on them and work with the people who work together with them in truth and love. So there you go, Capricorn. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.